Algebra 2 students, Mrs. Allison here, and today we're going to look at an introduction to statistics. Now, statistics is a little different than any other topic that we've studied this year. Statistics is all based on the idea of starting with a question, something we want to know about the population. So if we think about like Dublin Scioto as our population, maybe something I want to know is the average GPA of all students, or your favorite music genre. These are all types of questions that we would look at with statistics. So let's look at some vocabulary today. The first thing we're going to talk about is population. So population would be all the people you want to know information about. So for example, Dublin Scioto students could be a population. Ohio citizens could be a population. US citizens could be a population. We could have a population be as big as we want or as small as we want. It just represents all the people that we are looking at. A census is a way that we ask all the people in our population. For example, I may ask every student at Scioto, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? If I ask every student and I'm collecting that information, that's called a census. Some of you may have heard of this term before when talking about the Ohio census that you fill out every couple years. A parameter is the results that I get from that census. For example, maybe I see that 40% of all students prefer chocolate ice cream. That would be considered a parameter. Or maybe I say 25% prefer cookies and cream ice cream. That's also considered a parameter. It's the results from your census. Now, we don't typically collect data from the entire population for a couple reasons. One, it's way too time consuming. If I had to survey every student at Scioto, that would take a lot of time and a lot of effort. And secondly, it costs too much money. If we think about if I were paying somebody to collect the data, or if I was using my resources and sending out information, it costs a lot of money, time, and effort. So instead, what we do is we look at something called a sample. That is a smaller portion of our population. Okay, so a sample is just a few people. So maybe I only survey, if we're looking at the entire population of Dublin Scioto students, maybe I only sample Mrs. Allison students. That will be a small sample from the entire population. Now, when I actually collect the data, we call that sampling. Instead of a census, it's sampling. I'm asking a few people, and I'm still going to ask them what's your favorite ice cream flavor. I'm just not asking every student at Scioto. And the results from my sampling, well, that's called a statistic. For example, 30% of Mrs. Allison students prefer chocolate ice cream. Okay, that would be considered a statistic as opposed to a parameter. Now, one thing to kind of remember, a little hint here, is population and parameter both start with P. Okay, a parameter results in surveying the entire population. Sample and statistic both start with S. Statistic results from collecting data from my sample. Just a little way to kind of help you remember the difference between a parameter and a statistic. Now let's talk about good versus bad statistics. Because when I collect data about my population, there are times when you can get bad statistics. What that means is you have a bad sample. Okay, a good sample, a representative sample, gives you accurate results about the population. So for example, if I ask your favorite ice cream flavor and I only survey my classes, that's probably going to be accurate. I have some students that'll like chocolate, some students that will like vanilla, and some that'll like a mixture. A bad sample is also known as a biased sample, and that can give you misleading information. For example, if I ask favorite ice cream flavor, if I only ask a male or I only ask a female, one gender, well, maybe the males like chocolate ice cream better than vanilla. Okay, so biased sample can give you misleading results about the entire population. Another way to think about this is if I want to look at GPA, overall GPA of Dublin Scioto students, and I pick a sample. Well, if I pick a sample of maybe only looking at honors classes, that's not going to be a very good sample. It will be a biased sample because typically honors students have a higher GPA than the traditional student. Okay, a representative sample, a better sample, would be to survey a good mixture of kids, some in regular classes, some in honors, some in AP. That would give you accurate results about the population. So our goal is to avoid biased samples because that's going to give you misleading results about the population, and we want representative samples. Now, how we collect those samples and collect that data will become in the near future. Have a great day.